is good! Ferris State wins the basketball game!
You got it! Game winner!
Rips the shot and it's a score for Ferris State! What a play right there by the Bulldogs!
And so those are the kind of the guys I really wanted to model my mentality after.
When it's bad weather, it kind of comes down to grit. I think our team has a lot of that.
It's like you lose a game, like it hurts so much.
Like we're very culture-based, and so that's what initially got me here.
You're listening to Behind the Bulldogs, brought to you by Ferris State Athletics.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Behind the Bulldogs, brought to you by our great friends at the Car Center. Brandon Ward, Joe Nagy with you here this afternoon. Thank you all for tuning in, whether you're live with us on WBRN or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I mean, Joe, we love all of our listeners, no matter how they find us.
Yeah, we do. Very much so.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks to you for listening in. But yeah, this whole thing brought to you by the Car Center in Big Rapids. The Car Center, let me tell you, does work on all makes and models. So when you need body work, request the best. Request the Car Center off Northern Drive in Riders Heights and online at carcentermi.com.
Wow, I'm heading there right now after this podcast recording.
You probably should, dude. They do a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I do need some tires that need some air. Not necessarily in their forte, but anything else, though, they got you covered.
That is true. Let's get squealing on this episode because we had a fantastic interview with head coach Mark Doren of Ferris State Tennis, and it was a long one, so we're not going to have a whole lot of time to do everything else, so we got to get this rolling.
Very true. Squealing, great word choice.
Yeah, you know how it is.
Anyway, we'll start with the elephant in the room. Men's basketball.
Dogs.
GLIAC tournament champions.
Big time.
What a game. Beating our rivals at Northern Michigan. What a performance. Veas Grizulis, breakout tournament.
Dog.
Amari Lee, all-tournament team. But it was a team effort all the way across the board. Took down the hottest team in the GLIAC and did so on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, we were talking about it before. The best thing about this is that if you look at regular season, all GLIAC team, I mean, it was Ethan, Ben, and I'm forgetting one other team. Delapo. But then you see the guys who stepped up in the tournament to get on the tournament team. It's Amari and Veas. It just shows the depth of this team and what you're going to be able to see, especially when they play Northern for the first round. But they beat Wisconsin Parkside opening round 84-82, close one, beating Wayne State 91-81, and then they beat Grand Valley 87-76 to take home the chip. It's big time. It's going to be tough, though. Northern Michigan's a good team, and I'm excited to see this one.
Yeah, for sure. And we can't wait to see them play in the NCAA tournament because this team is confident right now. Saw them walking in the hallway yesterday as we're recording this, and they had a little pep
Just
in their step going to practice. So it's a good, exciting thing. Plus, it's hard to beat a team 3 times, so we'll have to wait and see. But on the other side, the women's team falling in the GLIAC semifinals to Northern Michigan there in Allendale. It was an overall solid performance. It wasn't the best performance, and Coach Westendorp alluded to that in his postgame when I chatted with them. They just really didn't have the same tenacity offensively. They didn't get a lot of shots to go in, and the aggression on the drive penetration was kind of lost. And Northern Michigan hit a lot of open shots. You got to give them credit, but maybe this is just enough motivation for this team to get back to where they were before the tournament and see if they can get the pep in their step back to a top 10 team and play like it in the country, especially going to be playing a really good Lewis team in the opening round on Friday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Both of men's and women's, I'm looking forward to this first game of the tournament because I think that's going to be one that kind of sets the tone a little bit for it. But Lewis, like you were saying, Brandon, before we started recording, I mean, they're a team who, well, Ferris is going to have to choose one or two things. They're going to have to score a lot or play good defense because Lewis is one of the team who can kind of catch you sleeping on both ends. You got to play a complete game or else they're going to be kind of really slow off the jump and they'll be the ones that are going to be sitting back after this first round.
Yeah, Lewis likes to score a lot of points. So either we got to score a lot of points or let them score, or excuse me, not let them score, make them score less. There you go. That's
exactly. Right. That's what, yeah.
Big strat. Yeah. If you do both, you're golden.
Yeah, then you're golden pony.
Score a lot, don't let them score a lot. That turns into W's in the chat, So there you go.
3 GLIAC teams also in the tournament for the women's side.
Yeah, 3 for the men's side as well.
So, hey, 3 for 3.
Wow, look at that. There you go. Also, hockey finishing up their season in the Mason Cup quarterfinals, falling to Bemidji State. It was a great season. This team, resilient, fought all the way through, and especially in that opening night, played one of the most exciting games of the entire quarterfinal. I think you could argue the most exciting game in the quarterfinal there on that opening Thursday night. But unfortunately, just fell to a good Bemidji State team that really has shown they've been unstoppable the last couple of weeks, and then they just kept it rolling at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this team as well, I mean, you might look at it, the record didn't show how close a lot of these games were. If you look at it, there's over a handful of these games that are 1-goal games. And a lot of times where it's, 2 or 3, there's times where an empty net was scored. So there was, you got to say that this team was a lot better than what their record showed. And I think, too, the CCHA was one of the more evenly matched that we've seen throughout this whole season, probably the past 3 or 4 years. Yeah. I mean, even I think it was Bemidji at the top was a couple games over 500, not like we saw Minnesota State 2 years ago where they, only had like 2 or 3 losses. So this one, although it's a tough look at the record, you got to think this team really showed up and showed out, and to be able to go to Bemidji and do a 5-4, bring the first game to 5-4 and still play well in a 4-0 loss, you got to be happy with that.
Yeah, for sure. Finishing up with spring break action there for tennis, speaking of which, with Coach Doren, as well as softball. Softball wrapped up their last couple of games that we didn't catch last week. 1-run losses to Illinois Springfield in some really tightly contested contests, but they did pick up a Saturday sweep before they came home against Hillsdale and Barry. Offense still looking really strong, as well as tennis, beating Rockhurst after taking on 2 of the top teams in the country in Flagler and St. Leo. Really good competition for both of these teams, and they really showed their stripes over the week, just because they played a lot of these tough teams, but they still played competitive. We're going to Florida. It can obviously be a big change in routine, and I mean, a lot of things can fall apart, but they really kept their composure and really kept going.
Yeah, that little rattle sound was my water bottle. I kicked it over, but
you like the phrasing that I put there just to make sure things will fall apart.
You really did. You really did. But we'll hear more about that from Coach Doren. We got the interview coming up right now, so without further ado,
let's swing it to the interview.
Now joining us in studio is head coach Mark Doren, a Ferris State tennis coach. Welcome to the show.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
Hey, welcome back, Coach. And first question, obviously you guys just got back from Florida, spring break competition. Just talk about the whole experience, competition, and just being down in the Sunshine State, getting a little sun.
Yeah, it was a long trip, but it was a great trip. To get down there and get some outside tennis is super crucial for us. Obviously, we spend most of the season indoors, but the important matches at the end of the season when we get to the NCAA tournament is outdoors. So it's great for us to go down there and play some high level competition and see what we're made of. I schedule a little bit more difficult than most teams do when they go down there, but it gives us a chance to really come back and think, hey, we're probably not going to play that level the rest of the year. So we know what we can do and kind of go forward from that.
And one of the coolest parts about it was the team's got Airbnb. It's not hotels. So there's some pretty big houses, but you're talking a little bit, they were kind of themed. I mean, share what that kind of experience was like for some of the guys to walk in their room and it's all of a sudden princess themed since it was near Disney.
Yeah, it's great. And one of the reasons we go down there is because it's logistically easy. Because of Disney World, there's just so many communities. They just keep building them. So there's these gated communities with these massive houses. And, the men's and women's team each had like a 9-bedroom house with a theater room and their own pool. But what it does is it really gives the team kind of that bonding experience. They all live with each other for 10 days. Unfortunately, I'm in the men's house and it is an absolute disaster. I can't imagine, being that age again. And, I have to continue to remind them to pick up after themselves and maybe quiet down at night. But no, it's a great experience. And it, they have tennis courts in there, so it gives us a chance to practice. And yeah, just the team bonding portion of it is awesome. But yeah, it is funny that we have guys sleeping in princess rooms or Mickey and Minnie Mouse rooms. And it adds to the comedy of it all.
Absolutely. And one big thing going to Florida, obviously, you guys spend a lot of the time training indoors at the Racket Center during this time. And now you have a chance to get outdoors as well as indoor practice as well in Florida. Just talk about the training that you guys really specified for this Florida trip starting into the outdoor season. Now that we have nice weather here in Michigan, it seems like it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's great to come back to this weather. But ideally this weekend, it's going to be back to cold and we'll be back indoors. So the training leading up to the spring break, it's difficult. There's no really way to try to get ready for slow courts. Our courts are some of the fastest courts in the country indoors. So it is difficult. We work on some things just, where we're standing on the court, our aggressiveness, to get ready because the slower courts give you more time when you're down in Florida. But then now coming back, I mean, yesterday we hit 1 million balls just to get used to being back indoors. We wanted to be outdoors. It would have been nice. But just to get ready, we're playing a great team this Friday in Tiffin that's going to be coming for us, and they're got some huge hitters. So outdoors, we could be ready for that. It's not as big, but indoors, it's going to be a little different. So yeah, just working our butts off.
And I have a question for you because every time that I would go to the Racket Center, maybe covered it for the Torch, tennis, I always see a Tesla outside. Is that your Tesla?
It is mine. Wow. It is mine. I live in Rockford.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a hike. I probably drive about 110 miles a day, and I was just spending more money in gas than it is to afford the Tesla. And it's been awesome. I mean, I love it. Maybe I'm saving the earth at the same time, but I also it's a smooth ride and I have a lot of fun with it, but it's made it a little easier to make it back and forth to work.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Do you get other comments from coaches whenever they pull up in the bus and then they see the Tesla outside and they're like, hey, whoa, where are you getting that money from?
Where's the salary coming over?
Yeah, it is funny. And then I'm like, hey, your F-150 is 30 grand more than my Tesla. So easy now. It's not, I just have a Model 3, but no, it is cool and it's fun. And hey, recruits love it. So I always think that's kind of cool.
There you go.
Give them a little ride in there or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not too bad.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of great transition, by the way, I don't know if you queued this up, but just talking about this year's team, obviously new recruits coming in. You still have experience on the top end of the group. Just talk about what you guys got this year and especially having so many guys back that have experience, guys and girls, and then also some of the new recruits as well getting their first taste of college tennis.
Yeah, technically from last year's lineups on both men's and women's teams, we didn't lose a single player. We only added. And that just made us that much stronger because the returners that were already in the lineup feel the pressure from the newer students. So, it's really pushed us. And what it's done is we've had a few injuries here and there on the women's team. So, some of the younger players are getting the opportunity to step up, and we're really having some players really step up and show that all the hard work when they weren't in the lineup pays off. And then, we just had a rough injury this past weekend while we were down in Florida to one of the men's players. And unfortunately he'll be out for quite a while. And, it's neat to see these first few days in practice, everyone just kind of stepping up, supporting him, but then also just being ready to fill in that gap.
Yeah.
And you talk about Sungay getting the GLIAC Player of the Week. I mean, talk about that already just earlier on in the season, being able to see these guys step up and just get that recognition.
Yeah, I think, we started the season really strong in our indoor matches, and the team started to get some recognition for it. And then we go down to Florida and, we started out with a D1 school. Josh McDermott, who is a player for us for 3 years, is now the assistant coach there. So we just kind of planned it. We both wanted to get a good match in before we started playing some of our own level, D1 or D2 player opponents. And that we played fantastic. We took the doubles point and then we really pushed them in singles. So that gave us some confidence. But we also then played the number 2 and number 3 ranked team in the country. And we went to Flagler and man, we lost 6-1, but we had 3 setters. We had some players really step up. Isungay, received the GLIAC Player of the Week because that very first match, he played the number 3 ranked player in the country and lost closely. And then 2 days later, we played St. Leo, and the guy he played is the number 2 ranked player in the country, and he beat him. So Isungay coming in, he came in the rankings at like number 49, first time ever being ranked in singles. Ben Lorty, our one singles, was ranked number 20 last week going into that. So he had this opportunity to play some real studs, and he took advantage of it, and he beat the number 2 ranked player in the country. And then on Saturday, he beat a guy that's ranked in the top 40 or so. There's about 1,200, student athletes in men's tennis in Division II. So, to be even in the top 75, to see your name in that list is pretty impressive. And today the new rankings came out, and Isungay jumped up to number 26.
Wow.
Which is pretty impressive. And I think any wins this weekend, if he were to get 2 wins this weekend, he'll be top 20 for sure, which is right in there, that All-American kind of status, which is pretty cool. And it's great. It's great support. On the last day, Isungay has been playing 2 singles for us, and he moved into the 1 single spot, and is, a senior leader on our team, Ben Lorty, was his biggest cheerleader. Even though Ben played 2, he was all for Isungay having that chance to play at that high spot, and, it paid off for both of them. So.
Yeah, for sure. And for you as a coach, I mean, especially you're seeing a lot of the individual awards and honorees. Obviously, as Joe mentioned, Isungay getting GLIAC Player of the Week. You've had GLIAC Player of the Year individually with Morgan and obviously Matisse a couple while back. But you also had team success in tournament as well. Like a lot of teams, I feel like they really hammer down on singles or they really hammer down on doubles. It feels like you really have a great mix of it when it comes to these groups. What does it goes into making these pairings and especially getting players in their seats that get them most wins, and as well getting the pairings for that best matchup, even though you might not be pairing 1 and 2 together against their other 1 and 2, but it's not just your number 1 pairing when you put them together.
Yeah, it's crucial. And right away, we talk about it a lot is, unfortunately, tennis as a sport is very individualized, And a lot of these athletes come in their whole career playing for themselves, especially my international students. It's not typical to have team sports like it is in the United States where you play for your high school team. So, they come in so kind of, I hate to use the word selfish, but it is. That's to be a great player in tennis, at the pro level, you have to be selfish and focus on you. So it's right away trying to just get them to understand that team atmosphere and that they're playing for more than just themselves. And if you get that, then no matter where I put people, they understand that 6 singles counts for 1 point and 1 singles counts for 1 point. And when they embrace that and they embrace their kind of roles in that, they don't even think twice. It doesn't even become, obviously everyone would like to play a little higher in the lineup. But once they're there, they don't care. And that kind of trickles into doubles now. I mean, today, we threw in all new doubles pairings today. With Eric Kovacs is one of our doubles players and one of our top singles players that he got injured pretty badly down in Florida. And now someone has to step in, but it's kind of given us an opportunity to kind of reshuffle our doubles. So today at practice, we had all new doubles pairings and nobody even blinked twice. I said, who's playing on what court? And they ran to that court and they competed. And that's what you look for in a coach, for a team that is, doesn't think individually, they think as a team. And I think we're getting better and better at that. My women's team, the spring break was probably one of the best spring breaks for us because we do go down and play tough competition. It can tear you down. And this is one of the first ones that I really thought that it built us. Even the losses built us. And it helped when we had some success. Morgan Waller really came out of her shell. She was back in, GLIAC Player of the Year form. She's went through some injuries, some surgeries, and it was great to see her lead that way. And then we had, someone like Kennedy Dumas, who, is scratching to just get in the lineup a year ago. And she's played 4 singles and got 2 wins on, 2 of the 3 matches. She won 2 of them against huge level opponents. So I think that they're enjoying each other's success, which is great. I think that's just going to help us, this weekend and going forward.
For sure. And now with the season starting up and GLIAC's coming around, off season is going to be a distant memory, but what's some things that you do kind of in your free time to really pass that time now? You might be reminiscent about it, but what are some of those things where you're looking forward to?
Just the little things, my whole life when I'm in season is the team. I try to get some, I'm a diehard sports junkie. So if I'm not watching, I'm talking to it and talking to the team about it. And that's why I love our van rides,
of course. Yeah.
Heck, would I love to be the coach that's in a bus and has his feet up while the bus driver drives and I'm not driving? That'd be fantastic. But being in a small van and me driving, those are the moments that the team is all right next to each other. So everyone's in each other's conversations, but it makes it so much fun. And it gives us a chance to just kind of enjoy, the season goes so fast. I mean, it's 16 weeks long, but it just goes so fast. But those are the moments that kind of allow me to have some fun and not just focus on tennis and just kind of get off of it. And unfortunately, or fortunately, like my men's team is obsessed with tennis. More than any team I've ever coached. We have guys that live and breathe. They watch, they're watching every tournament. They're following every college. I mean, Alessandro Santangelo on our team can name you the starting 6 on almost every Division I team. He's just, it's crazy. And, but I think it kind of, adds a little bit more excitement and fun. They kind of start to talk about, compare and say, hey, we're right there with those guys, and it makes it kind of cool.
That is for sure very cool. One thing I was going to ask you, I found on your bio, I don't think I asked you this last time. It says that you were an aircraft armament systems individual with the U.S. Air Force. Yeah. Just talk about that experience.
Yeah. I mean, it totally different. I came to Ferris in 1995 for 1 semester. And I was in the professional tennis management program. I knew what I wanted to do in life, but I didn't realize I was not ready to continue my education. I just wasn't in the right mind spot and just in my life. So I had 2 older brothers that were in the Air Force. My father had been in the Air Force, and I just knew that was an option that might help me grow up, just kind of experience life a little bit more. So, I mean, I was, when I was young, I barely ever used a screwdriver. I didn't know what I was doing. And I took this job, they're like, oh, this is 1995. So they're like, the future is in computers and this is all about, computer systems and launching systems. And I took a job that basically I was a mechanic on an F-16 loading bombs and missiles every day. And every day they go up and they come down and something has to be fixed. So I was a guy pushing a toolbox down a flight line, fixing bombs and missiles every day, wow. which is something that's absolutely crazy. Never would have thought I would have done it. And I'm still surprised I did do it. But it was such a great opportunity. I mean, obviously I think, in my family, serving our country was a big deal. And, I have 2 brothers that retired from the military. And, so it was a great experience. I got to be live all over the world, spend some time in Europe, which was so cool. And, but yeah, it's quite the jump from loading bombs and missiles to teaching tennis. But somehow I ended up back here doing what I always knew I wanted to do, but in a better spot. And it's I wouldn't trade any of that experience for anything.
Wow. One more sub question. Does anything translate from that experience to now that you might use in coaching?
Yeah, I mean, teamwork. It's crazy. It's just the teamwork that we had to do to be able to make everything work and feel safe. Like we were sending our pilots up in the air, and they have to expect that what we did is working. I mean, we wouldn't want them to go up there and for the bomb not to drop or the missile not to shoot off. And so it's just a great teamwork from everybody to make sure that everyone is safe and everyone was going good. And I think that it's helped me be able to learn more about other people. Here I am, 18, 19 years old, meeting people from all over the United States and different cultures and different backgrounds. And now I coach a team with people from all over the world with different cultures and different backgrounds. And I think that those experiences allowed me to kind of be able to now even sit back and know what my 18 to 22-year-olds, student athletes are going through, and how I can, use my past experience to help them get through that.
Wow, super cool.
Yeah, we thank you for your service, Coach. That's awesome.
My pleasure.
Yeah, for sure. And especially, GLIACs are always a very competitive year. It doesn't matter, if it's kind of a down year. It's always great competition. What are you guys looking forward to this kind of upcoming season, especially with it starting up next week?
Yeah, I had a great talk with the Wayne State coach a few days ago, and we were talking about how, even when I started 6 years ago, we just can't believe the level of the GLIAC tennis right now, both men's and women's. It's, we have guys playing 6 singles that, no joke, probably would have played 2 or 3 singles 6 years ago for almost every team in the conference. So the level is super high. And on the men's side this year, it is, we have to stay super focused. Wayne State, has been a top 5 team in the country the last 2 years. And last year we were lucky enough to get 1 win against them and then lost in the GLIAC championship tournament. But we know that we have the talent to beat all these teams, but just staying focused day to day, it's tough. And when you're at the top, we were always used to having the target on our back. So just getting them to understand that, yeah, they're going to come after you and they're going to be ready. And on the women's side, we're really deep this year. And it's made us fight and be super confident. But then we see, again, Wayne State's a top 10 team in the country on the women's side. Grand Valley's a top 20 team, and they're doing a lot of things. But we just always have that little bit of a chip on our shoulder that a lot of Ferris, us athletes work on, that kind of blue collar attitude, and that we're going to just work harder and get after it, without the same, level of money that some of the other schools have, or the ability for their outreach. And I think that, we take a lot of pride in our past history at Ferris. The tennis teams have always had great success. And I think that, they're ready for the GLIAC to get going. We love the off season, but I think we just constantly are always just GLIAC. So we're looking forward to it.
For sure. Coach Doren, thank you so much for joining us. One last question. We'll bring it with you again that we did on the earlier part of the MBSP. Has your answer changed on what's been your favorite thing about being here at Ferris State and being a Bulldog?
No, I don't think it's changed. I think I've been a Bulldog since I was, 14 years old, driving down here from Cadillac, Michigan to do my, tennis classes down here. It's always been part of me, and it'll always be part of me. And unless they boot me out of here somehow, I'm going to be here for a really, really long time. But no, it just keeps getting better. I think this university, from day when I was here coaching 6 years ago to now, just continues to grow, from leadership to the coaches to the student athletes. I love how often the tennis players get recognized by the other athletes on campus. I don't think that was normal for a long time. And how often that, when I walk into a room with a recruit, the football players are walking up and high-fiving my recruits. I think that atmosphere is exactly what they want to be a part of. And I'm not setting it up. It's not me saying, hey, when I walk in, make sure you guys come talk to us. It's natural. It's natural for all the other athletes on campus to want to cheer for each other and help each other. And that goes all the way to the top, to our leadership. So
for sure. Very cool.
Yeah, that's how you build that winning culture. Coach, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it and wish the best of luck with GLIACs coming up.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Big thanks for Coach Doren joining us here on the show. We'll get you the Bulldog sports slate here before you go real quickly. Women's basketball at Allendale against Lewis in the Midwest Region quarterfinals, 12 p.m. tip-off from Grand Valley, as well as at the same time, women's tennis will be taking on Tiffin, and the men will start at 4 o'clock. Joe,
all right, Saturday. Sorry to cut you off. Men's golf and women's golf going to be at the SVSU Spring Invitational. Women's tennis and men's tennis will be playing Walsh at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. respectively. And then men's basketball in the Big Dance, 7:30 p.m. opening round against Northern Michigan.
There you go. Sunday, golf continuing. It's the SVSU Spring Invitational in Lexington, Kentucky on both sides. And that's all you got.
Hey, cool. Women's golf, no time to rest. Finley Spring Invitational on Monday.
What? No way. Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Anyway, Tuesday to finish out, Finley Spring Invitational for women's, and as well softball will be taking on Lewis in a doubleheader at home. That will be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, cool. That's going to be it for today's episode. Thanks to Coach Doren. Thanks to you for listening. We'll be seeing you later.
Yeah, and until next time,
take care, everybody.